Hey, I'm Randy, and you're watching The Cheap Audio Man. This is a big video. It's a compilation of all the best of videos. Best speaker of the year, best DAC of the year, best amp of the year, product of the year, biggest disappointments, and all that stuff. No intros, I think. No outros. No sponsored spots either. So I've taken all these videos and I've put them together for your viewing pleasure if you're so interested. But all these videos have already been up before. So if you watched them, maybe you don't need to watch this one. However, if you want to watch all of them in a row for like an hour of Cheap Audio Man, then this is the video for you. So thank you for a great 2022, and I hope to see you in 2023. So these speakers that I'm going to talk about were the ones that really stood out from the pack. It doesn't mean if they're not mentioned in this video that they aren't good speakers. A lot of them were great, but some of them, well, were just more special than others to me. It's not always just because I liked them more. It's just I thought they stood out from the crowd in one way or the other. The PSB Imagine XB. This is a fairly small bookshelf speaker, and I didn't have a whole lot of expectations going into it. By the way, they're $649. They used to be $600, but like everybody, they're increasing their prices. Why? Because they can, even though they probably had stock here the whole time and it cost them the same amount of money. They're taking an opportunity where they see other people raising their price. They're like, we can raise our price. Just kidding. Most people just don't haphazardly raise prices. And the thing I will say about PSB is they don't run all these crazy sales all the time. So it's not just all of a sudden going to be $325. They keep their prices the same, or at least that's what I've seen. These speakers put out a monumental amount of bass and play much bigger than they are. What I mean by that is, well, they sound like towers. I know it's hard to believe. Their low frequency drop-off is actually rated at 55, but man, this is why you can't trust specs all the time. They sound way bigger, way deeper than 55 hertz. They go up to 23,000 hertz and are fairly sensitive at 90 dB. They also have an 8 ohm impedance. So this speaker is easy to drive, so you're not going to have any really heavy duty electronics to get the best out of it. It sounds full. It doesn't sound harsh. It has a balanced sound signature, great soundstage and imaging. The only drawback is I think at $600, it was already a little bit overpriced. $650 even more so. But this thing sounds awesome. And I would have no problem having this be my in-game speaker. If you're in a smaller room, you don't even have to be in a smaller room. I'm in the living room. It had no issue filling up this room. Some people are going to say this maybe leans a little bit warm, but there's still a lot of detail on top. Great speaker. PSB Imagine XB. Let's go a little bit more affordable. How about the ELAC BS41? My oh my, what a surprise. My budget recommendation used to always be the Sony SSCS5. And while it is when it's on sale for $123, which I think incidentally it is on sale for $123 right now, the ELAC BS41 does have a tendency to go on sale. Goes on sale all the way down to, I think, around the same price as the Sony. This speaker is only sold through Amazon, so maybe it was introduced to compete with the Sony SSCS5 or maybe the Polk XT series. I don't know. The only thing I do know is it's small, it sounds really good, and sometimes it's super inexpensive to buy. Gishelli Labs had these in their room at Capitol Audio Fest, and they had them cranked up. The sound signature, again, is non-fatiguing, so you can get it pretty loud without really feeling like it's shouting or screaming at you. 4-inch woofer, about $115, $120, $125, $160 when it's the most expensive. And I wouldn't really recommend getting it at $160. At $125, absolutely. Take a chance. Sometimes they go all the way down to $80, I think. Sometimes they're below $80. There's also a crossover mod from my buddy Neil, who's a patron. He does a great job. It's not that difficult of a crossover mod, and it doesn't cost that much. Cleans up the bass a little bit. But don't despair. I think they sound great on their own. So the ELAC BS41, honorable mention 2022, almost speaker of the year, maybe. Wharfdale Denton 80th edition. This one almost was Speaker of the Year. It comes in probably right underneath the Speaker of the Year. I love this speaker. Absolutely love it. The build quality is absolutely stunning for a speaker at this price. It is currently $499 on sale. So if you're in the market, now's the time to buy the Wharfdale Denton 80th edition. No, really, it's $500. $500. Real veneer, gorgeous. Not only is it gorgeous, it sounds great too. It also has a surprising amount of bottom end presence, and it's clean bass. It sounds really good. The top end is also natural. All the speakers I'm talking about, with maybe the exception of one, don't have a really exciting top end. They're just balanced, they sound natural, and they're not fatiguing. The Denton 80th edition are actually rated down to 44 hertz, and I'm pretty sure that's an accurate rating because I'm always surprised at how low these things go. If you get them within maybe 2 feet from a wall, it's going to boost that bass even more. If you want it cleaner, just pull them out. And it's easy to do so because they are such a small speaker. Not weirdly small, but you can get them anywhere. I've been pretty much using them almost exclusively as my desktop reference speaker when I'm listening to electronics and things like that. 86 dB, so it is a little bit lower when it comes to efficiency. So you may want to put a little bit of juice on here. But I drove these on a tube amp and they sounded great. I actually thought that the Dentons were the best pairing with the KN LA34 tube amp, which is 34 watts. So if you have a decently powered tube amp, you're not gonna have a problem with the Wharfdale 80th edition. They're really good. It's got a 5-inch black Kevlar cone woofer, has a nominal impedance of 6 ohms. A little bit harder to drive, but not impossible to drive. Wharfdale Denton 80th edition, runner up to the Speaker of the Year. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. We have almost 600 videos, so chances are there's going to be something that you're interested in the back catalog. So subscribe, like the video, check it out, and I really appreciate you. Emotiva B2 Plus. Yay! This speaker is something that I wished existed 2 years ago, and I actually talked to them. I'm like, listen, the B1 Plus are so awesome. Please, please, please consider making a 6.5-inch woofer version of your bookshelves. And they did. Guess what? They don't disappoint. This speaker it's not just a bigger version of the B1 Plus. I believe it has a bit of a different personality. A little bit warmer through the mid-range. Fuller through the mid-range. It also has incredible low-end response, presence, clarity. The AMT tweeter on these Emotiva speakers is so good that I always hear things in the recording that I haven't heard before, even if I've heard that recording hundreds of times. B2 Plus is similar to the PSB because you can put this in a big room and actually still fill the room with sound. Incredible. Incredible. And at $499, it's an absolute steal. I was going to do a speaker comparison with a lot of these other speakers, but I did this video instead. So it's kind of like a comparison. Personally, for me, I feel the B2 Plus is the best speaker that's been released this year, or that I've reviewed this year. I think it really fills a gap within Emotiva's lineup because they have great towers. The B1 Plus is spectacular, but there was nothing that really kind of got you close to the tower speakers or the floor standers, but now there is. They've been in my living room. They're right behind you. I know you can't see it. Every time I put a different speaker up, I don't listen to them very long. My living room runs mostly TV and movie duty, and right now it's only a 2-channel system, so I don't have a center channel. It's natural sounding, not veiled. Wonderful. I think if you are in the market for a bookshelf speaker and you like the looks of the B2 Plus, I absolutely don't think you can go wrong. I think it's the highest value speaker. I think it's going to check the boxes for most people. If it does get a little bit intense on top, just toe them out a little bit. Remarkable, remarkable, remarkable speaker. And that's why it's the Cheap Audio Man Speaker of the Year. Congratulations to all the speakers mentioned today in the meaningless Cheap Audio Man Award. What is the best amp I've heard this year? All this and more. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about the Cheap Audio Man 2022 Amp of the Year. So this is a bit of a more complicated subject because not all amplifiers are created the same. Some are simply power amplifiers. Others are amplifiers that only have, a volume control. Some have multiple inputs, some only have one input, some have DACs, some don't. There's a lot of apples and oranges and bananas in this category. However, I'm going to try to do my best to mention what I think are the standout products that I've listened to this year. Doesn't mean that they came out this year, just means I reviewed them this year. So what are the best amps I've heard this year? The IEMA T9. If you watch the show at all, you know I'm a pretty big fan of this amplifier. However, I am going to give basically some disclaimers because I have been using this recently and I have run into the dreaded it shuts down when it doesn't hear a signal issue. I think they may have fixed that. And I never noticed it when I was running digital inputs. It never cut out. However, when I was comparing this to another amplifier and I was simply running an RCA input to it from another preamp, it did cut out after each song or if I changed tracks or something like that. So that was annoying. It wasn't as clean as I thought it was when I was comparing it to a tube amp. Now, granted, that tube amp was $1,000 compared to a $120 integrated amplifier with a DAC, with tubes and everything else. I still think people should consider the T9. And while it's not going to win, it's definitely getting an honorable mention. If you're going to get one, try to get one of the updated ones. Hey, if you're new here, consider subscribing. I do this for a living, so it means the world to me if you'd like the video and subscribe. You can always unsubscribe, and it's free. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, and I would really appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up and subscribe. This one has obviously been out for a long time. I have just never listened to it. It is the Yamaha AS301. It comes in at $350. And for an integrated amplifier, that's a traditional rack mountable, well, it's not rack mount, I guess you can mount it in a rack. You put it in a rack. It's as wide as most components are. It comes with a DAC. It comes with a phonostage. More importantly, for me at least, it comes with variable loudness controls. I think out of the box, this amp doesn't really resonate with me in its stock sonic signature. However, with the use of tone controls and the variable loudness control, I could get this thing to sound exactly like I wanted it to. Well, within reason, when considering the price point. It's got good build quality from a great manufacturer who knows what they're doing. The AS301, a little bit thin. The value proposition on this product is incredible. And it comes with a great remote control that can also control a Yamaha CD player. Maybe another CD player, I don't know. Great product, traditional product, and for $350, it's pretty nuts. There's a whole bunch of amplifiers, integrated amps in that family. AS301. 501, 701, 801. I don't know if there's any more 01s. From affordable all the way up to extremely expensive. Great traditional components. An amp that's not making the list, but is kind of making the list, is the Topping LA90. It simply sounds sublime. However, the connections that they chose are silly, and the price to performance ratio isn't quite there. It's $900. It doesn't put out a ton of power. However, I would be remiss if I did not mention it because it is simply wonderful sounding. $900 though. So let's just say it was maybe nominated, but lost out on the first round. Runner-up to the Amp of the Year is the Emotiva TA1. They also have the TA2, but the TA2 is a bit more expensive. TA1 comes in at $600. Actually, the TA2 comes in at $999, so $1,000. TA1, though, is the one that is the runner-up. It has a phono stage. It has a DAC. It has Bluetooth. It has an FM tuner. It has a couple of analog inputs. Did I say phono stage? It has a phono stage. It has a remote control. Tone controls. Can also be used as a preamp if you ever want to add an additional amplifier to it. Also has bass management with a fixed high-pass filter. This thing is really an amazing product at $600. I think it used to be $500 or $550. It's still hard to argue the value proposition though from Emotiva. 60 watts into 8, both channels driven. 100 watts into 4, both channels driven. Unless you have a very inefficient speaker, it's going to take care of you. This is an amp that you can grow with. One of the first integrated amplifiers I ever got was the TA100, which I think is one generation older than the TA1. I thought it was fantastic. I still kind of wish I had it. Emotiva TA1 integrated amplifier is the runner-up to the Amplifier of the Year. And the Amplifier of the Year award goes to the IEMA A08 Pro. Yay! This is a $139 amplifier when it's not on sale. However, they regularly go on sale. When I was a kid, I could never say regularly. I still can't say it very well. They regularly go on sale for less than $140. However, even at $140, it's still a steal. This is pretty simple. No remote control. Has Bluetooth. I wouldn't use the Bluetooth. VU meter on front. Tone controls on the front. And you turn the power on by just turning the volume up like this. It is a fairly straightforward piece of equipment. However, it sounds great because it has the 3255 amp chipsets from Texas Instruments, which are also an amp chipset that can really push a lot of power depending upon what power supply you have. What kind does this one come with? I'm glad you asked. This one comes with a 36 volt 5 amp power supply, which is much bigger than the power supply that comes with the IEMA A07, which is an equally good sounding amplifier. Doesn't put out as much power though. This has such a good power supply that I use it on other products when I'm testing those other products. For $140 though, you will be able to drive almost all the speakers that you could possibly want to drive. 98% of the people out there are going to be able to drive 98% of the speakers they want to drive. I don't know how this math works out. Anyway, this is a fantastic product at $140. The value to performance is there. The sound signature is there. And frankly, I was comparing the A08 Pro to the Burson Funk, which is, I think, north of $500. And I couldn't tell I couldn't consistently tell the A08 Pro from the Burson Funk when I was blind testing back and forth doing some A/B testing. Couldn't consistently tell them apart. That's why this product gets Amplifier of the Year. You can use the aux output right here to hook up a subwoofer, powered subwoofer if you want. If you want a remote control it, you're gonna have to add a DAC that has a remote control. There's one that fits in the slot, the IEMA T8, but you don't have to buy that one. You can get whatever you want to get. Also, if you get an external DAC, you can always run an EQ in the middle. But these tone controls are pretty good. If you want a headphone amp, you would go DAC, headphone amp, and then your headphone amp would need preamp outputs, and then you'd go into here. Wonderful product for $140. Crazy product for $140. It's been a great year for amplifiers. I've had a ton of fun. If you think I got it wrong, stick it in the comments stick it in the comments which one you think I should have mentioned. I'm going to link the best speaker of the year and the best DAC of the year over here, or up there somewhere. So check those out because those are a lot of fun too. All for 2022. Today, we're getting to the end of the year. This is where we start doing awards. It's awards show season. And today we're talking about DACs. So sit down, grab your cup of coffee, and let's talk about the DAC of the year. And maybe some honorable mentions. If you are new to hi-fi or being an audiophile, the concept of a DAC may seem confusing, and it was for me early on. Really what a DAC is doing is it's taking a digital signal from your computer, streamer, CD player, DVD player, whatever it is. It's taking that digital signal and it's converting it to an analog signal, which then will go into an amplifier or a preamp or an integrated amp. Digital to analog. Most of the music that we consume today is digital. I know there's a lot of people into vinyl, some even into cassettes, but most music is consumed digitally today. So if you're really into digital music, investing in a good DAC is probably a good decision. But you don't always have to spend a lot of money to get a great DAC. So let's get into it. Let's talk about some honorable mentions and the DAC of the year. So the runner-up honorable mention here is going to be the Topping E50. The Topping E50 right now is actually $200, which is a really good deal for this DAC because this is a really good DAC. There are a sea of DACs out there. A lot of them sound exactly the same. The thing about this Topping though is it has a full, organic, engaging sound, and it comes with a remote control, and it comes with Bluetooth. So if you're adding a DAC to a vintage receiver, if you're adding a DAC to a preamp that doesn't have a remote control, then the Topping E50 can actually control volume for you. The DAC chip is an ES9068AS DAC chip. Man, that was difficult. The takeaway on this one is that it sounds really good. This sounds full. This sounds like the Topping D90, I think, SE, which is like a $900 DAC. This is a $200 DAC. I think if you're into measurements, I think this DAC measures well too. But what you're getting is an affordable price, really good sounding DAC, full sounding, organic sounding, analog sounding DAC. On the back, you have the option of balanced outputs. I don't love their choice of balanced output connections. It's a TRS. I know people are going to say, well, TRS is very common in the pro audio. Well, most people aren't into pro audio. You can get a TRS to XLR, I don't know, cable, special cables made up. They have those, they exist if you want to use balanced connections. It does have RCA though, which is what most people are going to have. So the Topping E50 is the runner-up to the DAC of the year. We may have a couple runner-ups to the DAC of the year. It's remarkable. It sounds great. It has a remote control. It has Bluetooth. It has balanced outs. It almost won. Almost won. But congratulations. It's an honor just to be nominated, right? Another honorable mention, this is going to be my budget honorable mention, is the Skit Modi 3, whatever it is. What you're getting here is a $120 DAC that sounds great, is very analytical, and is going to clean up and give you more music than you're probably accustomed to listening to from the likes of a cell phone or a laptop or your CD player. There's no remote control. There's no variable output. It's simply a DAC in its purest form. And if you're on a budget, I think that the Skit Modi is a great place to start and maybe end your DAC journey. $120. Their whole stack, their Modi Magni low-key stack, you get a headphone amp, an EQ, and then the DAC. So it would be DAC, EQ, then headphone amp. That's really a crazy, affordable system when you think about it. So another honorable mention to the Modi. We are moving way up the price range now for another honorable mention, and then I promise we're going to a DAC of the year. The final honorable mention is the Denafreps Aries 2. For a while, this was my reference DAC. This was the DAC that changed my whole paradigm of thinking about how important sources are for the entirety or the overall sound of your system. I kind of thought, well, you just buy speakers. You get really good speakers and then you're done. Maybe the electronics make a marginal difference. When I heard the Denafreps Aries 2, I was blown away. I know that's so cliche, right? I was shocked. But I was. It was really good. The soundstage increased. Every speaker that I put on that system sounded better. And in a weird way, to where if the speaker was forward, all of a sudden it sounded more mellow. If a speaker was thin, all of a sudden it sounded fuller, right? That doesn't make sense, but that's just what happened. I couldn't say enough about the Denafreps Aries 2. Had no remote, fixed output, so you can't control volume on it, was balanced, and single-ended. Sounds incredible, though. It still sounds incredible. However, I did end up giving it away for the DAC that is going to be named DAC of the Year. Denafreps Aries 2 is great, but I think it comes in around $800 or $900. So it prices itself out for the majority of the people that are getting into this hobby or are on a tight budget. Drum roll, please. And the DAC of the Year is... If you're a fan, if you watch the channel at all, this is not going to be a surprise at all. The DAC of the Year is the Gishelli Labs J2, the AKM version. Whew. When I got this in and listened to it, I was expecting that it's going to be good because I have two of the other J2 DACs, both of which are Sabre editions, and they both sound great. I had high expectations. The backstory on the AKM chips is that I had never heard a DAC that utilized an AKM chipset. I never thought that it was good. All the ones that I listened to I thought were super harsh. I wasn't prepared for what I was going to get. So this one utilizes the AKM 4493 DAC chipset. The one thing about this DAC and I've heard it before in the comments, and I always kind of poo-pooed it because, well, my experience was different. In the comments, a lot of people say it's not the chip, it's how it's implemented. And what I think that means is the analog output stage. And for the first time, I heard an AKM DAC chip that sounded great. Again, very natural. Engaging on the bottom end. Lot of bass presence and impact on this thing. I know, people are going to be like, hey, that doesn't happen. They're ones and zeros. It can't possibly sound different. Well, if it has a different analog output stage, of course it can sound different, right? People say tube amps sound different. People say amps sound different. Well, guess what? The output stage is, well, it's an analog thing. They're taking a signal and they're amplifying it. So this DAC simply sounds amazing. So amazing that I gave away my Denafreps Aries 2 to a patron, because I knew I wasn't going to be using it anymore, because the J2 is going to be my reference DAC, the AKM version. I still like the Sabre version. Love the Sabre version. Right now, I just like the AKM version a little bit more. 4493. So let's go over it a little bit. So on the front, there are two buttons. Those buttons are used to, well, turn it on, and then change the LED. You can change it to different colors. And then change the input. There are 4 lights on the front. This gets a little confusing for me because I never quite know which one is which. But I finally figured out that the optical on the back is when the 2 top ones are lit up. You can get and then you notice there's an optical and coaxial on the front. And, well, that's convenient if you have something that you're plugging in and you can't get to the back. On the back, you have an optional USB input, another coax, another optical, RCA outputs, and balanced outputs, and then the power connector. One thing about the power connector, many of my patrons have gotten linear power supplies, and anecdotally, they've all reported that it makes a difference. So I'll try to link one of these linear power supplies. They're from AliExpress or something, so kind of buyer beware. Everybody that's purchased one, though, from my patrons has gotten one. I'm not affiliated, and I cannot vouch for these sellers, but everyone that's ordered one that I've talked to has gotten one. And they say it just really improves everything across the board. Soundstage, imaging, all the cliche stuff. Oh, instruments, placement in space, all that stuff. So you can improve upon it even more. Frankly, I don't really feel like it needs much improving, but I'm kind of curious because a lot of people that I trust have told me the same thing about the linear power supply. So let's talk about why this thing is DAC of the Year. First and foremost, it's affordable. It comes in at $250 if you don't need the USB input. If you do, it's $300. You also have the option of a bunch of different colors and faceplates. Glass on here. You can get a different color. I have a white and a green one from the first Gishelli Labs product I ever reviewed was the J2 in white and green. Loved it. Love it. It's right up there on my shelf. I need to put that back into operation. It was incredible back then. And I did a head-to-head with some more expensive DACs. And I think I love Schkitt. I love that company. I think the J2 is better than the Bifrost. I think they sound awful similar. The J2 has a bigger soundstage. I haven't heard the brand new. I haven't heard the newest iteration of the Bifrost, but I personally prefer this one. Anyway, it's incredibly affordable. You can get wooden cases, and it's going to be more depending upon, of course, which wood you choose, because wood costs different things. They actually made this custom for me, and I just am over the moon about that. I will treasure this. Very affordable. And price to performance ratio, I don't think you're getting a better DAC for under $1,000. I think the Denafreps Aries 2 may compete with this DAC, but they're different. And they're not different enough that it had me keeping the Aries 2. I think the J2 goes head to head with the Aries 2 and frankly beats it in some categories at a third of the price. I've gotten to know the owners of Gishelli Labs over, well, last year and a half, maybe. Sherry and Gino, and Rachel, Jake, Grandpa Joe. It's a family-run business. And the J2 is not winning the DAC of the year because I like their family. I do. I love their family. I consider them to be friends. Part of the reason why the J2 is getting this award is purely on price and performance, but it's also on customer service. It's not a huge operation. One of the great things about Gishelli Labs is they make each DAC to order, which means they don't just have a bunch of these sitting on the shelves that they've imported from overseas. Oh yeah, they're made in Florida. That's right. These DACs are made in the U.S. by a small business, right? Come on, let that sink in. Made in the USA, small business, affordable, price to performance, awesome, great customer service, family-run business. Okay? You can just stop. Go buy one now. It's easy to like a product when you know the story behind the product. And the fact that it sounds so good makes it very easy. I think and I hope this is the way that the industry is moving to smaller, more nimble companies that can make changes very quickly. They don't have to get permission from a committee, have to worry about marketing, have to worry about, oh my goodness, does this fit with our branding? They're real people. They're going to answer your emails. They're going to talk to you if you need talking to. That sounds like bad. They're going to talk to you. Now, if you want to talk to them, they will make time to talk to you. I cannot express how much I love this family and this DAC. And it makes it easier to love this DAC and recommend this DAC because I know they're going to follow through with what they say. Talk about a few things that some people may not like about this DAC. First and foremost, the looks, okay? I get it. This isn't for everybody. I get it. Every time I do a video about Gishelli Labs, someone says, oh my God, they're too ugly. A lot of people aren't going to like the looks, but they're different, and I appreciate that they're different and not just making another black box. The other thing that people may not like is it doesn't have a remote control. So there's no variable output, which means you're not going to be able to control volume on this. This is a DAC in its purest form. So is the Denafreps Aries 2. So is the Schit Bifrost 2. So is the Schit Modi. All of my favorite DACs, except for the E50, don't have variable outputs. It's simply a DAC. And I didn't plan for it to be that way. It's just that all the DACs that I like are just DACs. Trust me, I wish there was a DAC that sounded like the J2 that did have a remote control, and I would recommend it all day long. The E50 kind of gets close. So looks and remote control. I think that's the only thing people can complain about, or Bluetooth or things like that. But please, just if you want to use Bluetooth, get this. Actually, if you want a remote control, get this. This is a Weem Mini Streamer. You can run an optical out of here into the J2 and then into whatever you want to. And then you can actually control volume right here. It's not the best way because it's digital volume, but you can in a pinch. Incredible product, incredible products. I honestly think that out of the products that I named, I think that's the best of the best for the price range. If you're looking at leveling up your digital music game, then I would take a look at one of these products. And really, the J2. They are not on back order, but they have a backlog. They have a bunch of DACs to make. You can still get in the queue though, and I know that they work really, really hard. They're putting out as many as they can. But the word is out. The J2 is incredible. It's here to stay. If you're getting your first DAC, you can be one and done. So the Shelly Labs J2 is the DAC of the year in the meaningless 2022 Cheap Audio Man Awards. So it gets the monkey looking at all the products that are worse than it, saying, I feel bad for you. I'm going to sit in my tree and hang out, maybe eat some bananas, pick some bugs off my buddy and eat them. Anyway, congratulations, Shelly Labs, for the J2 AKM version, $44.93. $250 if you don't need a USB, $300 if you do, a little bit extra if you want a wooden case. What a year, 2022. Wow, went by really fast, right? Today we're going to talk about the product of the year and some other stuff. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about the best product of the year, 2022, in my opinion. 2022 has been a huge, big year for me in my personal life. Why? Because I quit my regular job, my normal job, a job that most people have. You go, you get paid. They pay for health insurance, 401k, all that stuff. It was very nerve-wracking. But I thought I could do a better job for not only myself, but for my family if I went full-time on YouTube. I know, it's crazy. I'm 46 years old, quitting my job to do YouTube full-time. But I did, and it's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, it is a lot of work, but it is awesome. And it's because of everyone that watches my channel. So really, I'm just here to thank everyone watching. If you've watched the channel at all in the past, whether you like me or you don't like me, I really appreciate you. So if you're new here or watching for your first time, please subscribe. Like I said, I do this for a living. It would mean the world to me if you like this video and you subscribe to the channel. I'd say the biggest disappointment for me this year, 2022, is once again, Spotify is still not lossless. I kind of understand, maybe I don't understand, because Amazon Music, Apple Music, Tidal, Qobuz, I think even Deezer, everybody has gone to a lossless or CD quality or better streaming solution as far as bit and sample rate. Spotify is still, I think, 320 kilobits per second. Now, I get it. Spotify is also the largest music streamer from a subscriber standpoint. I don't know if they have more music than Amazon or anybody else. I guess that would be interesting to look up. Here's the deal, though. They said they're going to do this in 2021. At the beginning of 2021, they said they're going lossless. They're going lossless by the end of the year. That was 2021. Now it's 2022. 2022, and they still haven't given any indication if it's going to happen at all. Here's the deal. I don't know if they have to go lossless. I really don't think that we are their demographic. Their demographic is non-audiophile. I don't think they really care. Even if every audiophile just canceled their subscription to Spotify, it probably wouldn't even show up on their financials. They'd be like, what happened? So I don't think they're gaining a whole lot by going lossless. I don't know, maybe they are. Maybe I'm wrong. But another big disappointment, because I thought that with Spotify going lossless, it's going to make a lot of people's lives better, I guess, if you're looking for lossless or bit perfect music. I'm just excited for Spotify because I know a lot of people have Spotify subscriptions, and I know a lot of streamers, AVR receivers, and other products out there have a Spotify Connect feature. So I was just hopeful. I was hopeful that there would be lossless music from Spotify. But wah, wah, wah. No Spotify lossless. This may ruffle some feathers, but once again, it is going to be some stuff that could be considered a little bit controversial. Cables. Entry-level cables from AudioQuest. Cables from World's Best Cables. Power cables. I think those are the three things that kind of surprised me the most. Now, I did a blind test, or what I would consider to be a blind test, with some power cables, and I could tell a difference. Which one is better? I don't know. I think that's up to you. So the takeaway for me is I was surprised that cables, I was surprised I could hear a difference in cables. I still need to do more research for me which one is better. But I think entry-level AudioQuest cables, I think world's best cables, are probably something you want to look into or start to kind of research a little bit, because there is a difference. At least there was for me in my system with my power grid, with my wiring, my everything. I just think it's something you should take a look at. The other thing is speaker isolation. I kind of just poo-pooed all over speaker isolation, thought it was silly. But I have heard a pretty decent difference, especially on my console, which is in my living room. It's where the TV doesn't sit on it. TV's mounted above it, but there's ferns on there, all sorts of stuff. Speaker isolation surprised me a lot this year too. It's one of those things that I don't think I'll go back. I don't think I'll just plop a speaker on top of anything anymore. I'm always going to have something in between the speaker and the stand, or in between the speaker and the console from here on out. It changed my paradigm. So this probably isn't going to be a big surprise if you watch the channel quite a bit. I think the companies that are really pushing audio forward, making it more affordable, and pushing the envelope as far as technology is concerned is Skit, Jashelli Labs, and Emotiva. Jashelli Labs with the J2, especially the AKM version. The Sabre version, great. I love it. The AKM version for me was the DAC that said, hey, I don't need a Denafreps Aries 2 anymore, so I gave that away. I think Jashelli Labs is pushing the envelope as far as like what a value DAC can be. I don't think there's a lot of people that can compete in there. I think it's hard for even for Skit to compete with Jashelli Labs when it comes to the J2. However, the J2 is not going to be for everybody because of the looks. Maybe because of the control as well. There's one thing you can't criticize the J2 for, and it's its performance. It's just incredible. Incredible. For under $1,000, it's the best DAC out there, and it's like $250. Their headphone amps too, just flawless. Really, they're just remarkable. Skit, pushing the envelope again. They have the Modi, they have the Magni, they have the Loki. They continue to add good, great, awesome products all the time, and they are selling a ton of units. I was just down there in Corpus Christi. Maybe I'll link the video right here so you can check it out. The direct to customer model for me are the companies that are really pushing things, because I believe that they have a higher value than what you would get if it was going through some type of distributor or retailer. I was really, I've always been impressed with Skit, but I was really impressed with Skit when I went down there and I've talked to Jason before, but talking with him in person, seeing his workflow, seeing somewhat of his vision, of course he couldn't tell me everything, I was really impressed. Emotiva. Emotiva has created their own processor, their own processing software. They're not tied, they're not being held hostage by somebody else's processor. It's all in-house. I think what Emotiva is doing for the home theater industry and for the 2-channel aficionados, enthusiasts, is unrivaled. Again, their facility, huge. The number of products that are going out the door at Emotiva every day is shocking. The Emotiva B2 Plus, a $500 bookshelf speaker, is darn near as perfect as you're going to get at $500 for a bookshelf speaker. These 3 companies, I think, are really the future of audio. And there's room for more. That's what I love about audio. Jashelli Labs, compared to Emotiva and Skit, is a lot smaller when it comes to how many units they put out each year. But they're right in it. Any small company can start, and if they sell a great product, I know personally I'm going to shout it from the rooftops. Anyway, Skit, Emotiva, Jashelli Labs, they are the, I guess you would call it, the companies of the year from the Cheap Audio Man. Check, checkity check. And the product of the year goes to, that was a drum roll. Probably not going to be a big surprise. The Weem Mini. Yay! And I guess to a lesser degree, or maybe kind of, the Weem Pro. And it's not just because Weem sponsors the channel every now and again. It's because of the value. It's really the Wii Mini, because this at $80, I think it's $76 right now. At $76, $80, even $100, this product is something that kind of resets a customer's expectations of what value really is. And again, I've been through this a lot. But this is a fully functioning streamer, which means you have streaming platforms like Spotify, Tidal Connect, Amazon Music, Deezer, I think Radio Paradise, I think. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of streaming services that you can use. You can get your network attached storage device, such as a NAS. If you have music on a NAS, if you have music on a computer, it'll pick that up if it's on the same network. You can optical out of this into an external DAC. This also has Apple AirPlay too. So if you have an iPhone, you can just beam it over the Wii. This one has Chromecast, I think, too. So if you use Chromecast, the new Wii Pro works. A lot of people ask me, what Bluetooth receiver should I get? And now the Wii Mini has pretty much taken that question off the table. Like, what AirPlay receiver should I get? What Bluetooth receiver should I get? And I say now, don't. You shouldn't get any, because you can get this, the Wii Mini, and it's cheaper. It is cheaper at $76. There are Bluetooth receivers out there that cost more than this. There's AirPlay receivers, like some Belkin thing, that cost way more than this and have way less functionality. They don't even have a streaming service in there. This also has a 10-band EQ. So you can start doing your own DSP in your room and start changing around what your speakers sound like. One of the other reasons why Wii Mini is the product of the year is because of their software updating schedule. It is bananas how quickly they update their software. I just read a thing about latency with the Wii Pro. The company's already gotten back and said, oh yeah, we're going to put a low latency feature in here. You're going to lose some other functionality, but if you want low latency, you can at least turn it on. I think that's crazy. There's so many other companies out there that don't have this Kaizen feature update mentality. The Wii Mini today is a lot different than the Wii Mini a year ago. And it wasn't even a year ago. It was January 2022 that I did my first review on this thing. It's not even the same product anymore because of software updates. I don't think many other companies can say that about their products. I can't recommend the Wii Mini and the Wii Pro enough. I think it's changed the audio industry when it comes to streamers. I definitely think it's changed the expectation of what a customer should really want from a streamer. If there's other products coming out, like a streaming integrated amplifier or something, and it has Play-Fi in it. Now, Play-Fi has gotten better, but I don't think Play-Fi is even in the same zip code as Wii when it comes to software. Here's the thing, though. These are affordable. So if Wii starts licensing their technology or selling the chipsets for this to go into other products, watch out. I think Fuzzy Audio actually has a little integrated amplifier with a Wii streamer built in. That's going to be a game changer because it's going to directly impact Blue Sound and NAD, because this thing, I think the software is better than Blue Sound, which is awesome because competition is awesome. It makes everybody get a little bit better. So what a great year. Thank you so much for making my dreams come true. I hope you enjoyed all the content. I'm still putting out content between now and the end of the year, but I wanted to take the time just to tell you how grateful I am for everybody that's watching the channel, how grateful I am for all my patrons, how grateful I am for all the folks that use my affiliate links, and how grateful I am for all my subscribers and anybody that likes the video, even if you don't like the video. I'm so grateful for you. So don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge listen, maybe through your Wii Mini, and fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man. Happy 2022.